The HART project is a collaboration between the government of Antigua and Barbuda, represented by the Ministry of Telecommunications and LIME. And there are two large components, and these two large components are broken down into several other smaller components. The first large macro component is the Assistive Resources Technologies, or ART component, and the other one is the Human Entrepreneurship component. Under the ART component, we have already advertised for an electronic inclusion champion, and we will shortly announce the appointment of the electronic inclusion champion. And this individual will be the focal point for implementing the Accessible Technology Charter that the government will sign onto. The benefits of the charter really are reaffirming commitment on the part of government to accessibility by all. And I'm talking about accessibility to information communication technologies. And it also helps to set a framework for making progress on this important agenda. In addition, we will, by September of this year, hire one person in each of these categories. Category 1 will be individuals who will be trained in how ICTs can be used to radically empower special needs individuals. Then there are 2 individuals who will assist in raising awareness of dyslexia and autism, as well as finding 2 qualified Antiguans who will train in the field of clinical education psychology to assist persons with dyslexia, autism, and special needs. We have already had some discussions with friendly governments and universities. So the report card on that is that by September, we will appoint at least 1 person in each category. On July 7th, 8th, and 9th, the government of Antigua, in collaboration with the Commonwealth Telecoms Organization, also referred to as the CTO, not to be confused with the Caribbean Tourism Organization. So this acronym stands for the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization. We will be the host to a Pan-Caribbean Summit on electronic accessibility, and we envisage to attract the 75 top persons in the Caribbean, targeting officials in ICT, education, finance, etc. The lead resource person there is Professor Tim Unwin, who is the Secretary General, who has already visited with us here at the ICT Cadet Training Facility. And essentially, this summit will set out in great detail the Caribbean-specific agenda for deploying ICTs for use by persons with disabilities, so we can continue to make a real difference in their lives. This is an area of leadership on the part of the government of Antigua and Barbuda as part of the HART project. So in a nutshell, we will be building significantly more capacity in these 3 areas. But the absolute hallmark in the art side of the HART project is the construction of a new HART center. We will be building the building on Crown lands, likely to be somewhere west of Yasco, perhaps taking up some of the lands that the Antigua Grammar School has on the eastern end. It will replace the existing unit for the blind and the visually impaired, as well as replace the school for the deaf, both of which are currently housed at the T.N. Kernan School. And we will provide a very progressive environment for visually impaired and blind persons, deaf persons, as well as providing professional services for individuals with dyslexia, autism, and special needs. In essence, the diagnostic clinic, which the government has been speaking about for quite a while for these individuals, will also be housed in this new facility. and we will work alongside the special education team at the Ministry of Education to ensure that the evaluations of these children, which is currently ongoing, will continue in a significantly more modern and ergonomic environment. So children with ADHD, Asperger's, and so on, we will have an environment where they can be offered the diagnostic services as well as services that speak to education and empowerment. There is also a facility on the Factory Road, which is referred to as the Vocational and Rehabilitation Center. These individuals have finished school, but they go there during the day. In other words, they're not employed. So what we plan to do is to subsume this Vocational and Rehabilitation Center along with the heart facility, so that in essence what we're doing is ensuring that we replace the existing school for the blind and so on and really make it very modern, leveraging on new technologies. And it will also house a diagnostic clinic. And the status update on that is that we have looked at the first set of drawings already, and we are continuing consultations. We have had discussions with Dr. Aubrey Webson, who is an Antiguan based in Boston, Massachusetts, who has expert knowledge in this area. And we are on the verge of consulting with a developmental pediatrician who specializes in this area, so that the end final product is in keeping with international standards in the first instance, and secondly, the building will be current and valid for at least a generation, which is 30 years. So Lime has committed 2.4 million EC dollars. This is locked into the heart project. Neither Lime or government can change its mind. And we expect that by the third quarter of this year, construction will commence. So out of the $9 million on the heart, $2.4 million goes exclusively to the construction and operationalization of the new heart center. So in a nutshell, that would represent the art component, but I want to share with you a few other areas that are very germane to this project. So any individual with any challenge, physical or otherwise, whether in an institution or at a home, will benefit from this project. Yesterday, we had a child here who has been clinically diagnosed with autism. He came here with his dad, and he's been allocated an iPad because there are specialized apps that will help these individuals. Yesterday, we had Lisa Hinkson here from the School for the Blind. She was allocated an iPad. She herself is blind, but she's an instructor there. So under this project, anybody with a challenge qualifies, but there are some institutions that have already begun to benefit. The Mount St. John's Medical Center, go back one, please, has already benefited, and you'll see later on in what way. We have deployed our 4G LTE high-speed signals in the waiting areas, in the emergency room, in the waiting areas outside the laboratory department, and outside where you wait to get your X-ray results and X-ray investigations, etc. We have completed the evaluation at Clearview Psychiatric Hospital, and in the coming days we'll deploy hardware there. And we have actually this Vocational and Rehabilitation Center. We've actually completed the first round of intervention there, because we deployed chairs and tables there, and we have deployed computers as well as high-speed internet. But the plan is, once the new facility is open, for all of these individuals to be housed and looked after in a professional way in this new heart center. The other institutions are shown here: the Amazing Grace Foundation, the Sunshine Home for Girls, the St. Vincent de Paul Daycare and Activity Center, the St. John's Hospice, the Boys Training School. In fact, any special care institute and home for the elderly will qualify for support under this project. So that in essence, the art part of heart has the new diagnostic clinic in the new heart center and assistance in a targeted way to institutions that help people that are vulnerable, and who may have special needs. So for instance, in the school here, we envisage a totally different environment for visually impaired children. You'll see in a moment the JAWS software, which we will purchase and deploy there, and the students and the teachers. Many of the students already know what to do with the JAWS software. The Adele School, we have done some work there in the past. The report card on this is that we will continue to do more work on the heart. Same thing with the Clearview Psychiatric Hospital. We will undertake more than one level of support for the Clearview Psychiatric Hospital. So we expect one level of support to be for the staff and the nurses and the doctors, and another one that targets the patients, whether they be inpatients or outpatients. The Fines Institute will not be neglected, of course. So let's talk for a moment about the specialized software upgrades, because they are vulnerable group specific. So in the case of JAWS, there's the screen reader software. But for people that are hearing impaired, there's mobile apps like ICOM Magnify, Say Text, that reads out the text aloud to you. And there's the voice-powered virtual assistant. So there are a lot of very good apps that can help people that have challenges. But the reason I've shown the JAWS software here is that this is highly specialized software. It's not a shelf item. You have to buy it from vendors that are licensed to sell it to you. So a 20-user license can cost between 30 to 40,000 US dollars. So what we will do on the heart, get the license in, make sure that it's available in the heart center, and if the heart center has not yet opened up, we will get it in. We've provided this software before, but as you can imagine, the software upgrades come out every 6 or 8 months, and many people can't afford that. And every individual that is blind in this country and wants to learn and retool using JAWS and similar software on the heart, they will qualify. I expect the JAWS software to be purchased and the license to be issued by the end of June in this year. I also want to talk about the hardware. I mean, obviously they will get desktops and laptops, but there's some of them that will require printers and scanners. For instance, there's some specialized equipment that is used on the Braille machine in the School for the Blind. We've been working with them. Let's go to the next category, which is the human entrepreneurship side. I just want to mention that internet penetration in Antigua in 2012 was 88%. It was 8% in 2004, and there is no doubt that people in Antigua, very ordinary people, use technology every day in an extraordinary way. Mobile internet penetration is approximately 126% because people carry around a cell phone from more than one company. Internet penetration is very high. Later on, I will talk about internet penetration to mobile smartphones. So this basically, this HEART project speaks to a private people's partnership. So Lime is investing in the 4G network. They have already commissioned their HSPA Plus network. When you came in today, you saw several of the public servants being allocated iPads. The 4G LTE network will be lit in October. So the report card on this is very simple. Lime has been living up to its commitment. They have already deployed the HSPA Plus network, and by October they will light up the 4G LTE network, which is the second 4G LTE network in Antigua. With 4G LTE, there'll be from Lime, there'll be 80% coverage in the first year, and all of St. John's and the surrounding areas and harbors will be covered in year one, including Nelson's Dockyard. Barbuda is also included in year one, and by the end of year two, which would be sometime early in 2016, there will be full 100% coverage. The reason that this is important is because a lot of our visitors on the yachts and so on have become accustomed to cutting-edge technology in the European countries and so on. So when they come here, they see it as a natural extension to what is happening. And we are the only country in the entire Latin American and Caribbean region with two separate 4G LTE networks. The level of investment on the part of Lime is 35.4 million. What is key with this particular LTE platform is that it will absolutely revolutionize access to the internet, because the 4G LTE signal goes directly to your mobile device. And 35% of Antiguans access the internet only from their mobile device. Now, we're moving towards a goal of, at the end of 2014, to have that move to 85%. Let's go to the next slide, please. I wanted to talk for the next few minutes about some of the human entrepreneurship components of HEART, the HEART options, the HEART Girls Revolution, and the Heart-to-Heart Technopreneurship. We have Professor Janice Levy in the building. This is her third visit here, conducting professional photography workshops, especially with the cadets. We brought in 2 sets of cameras already. Some of them are shown at the back. These are the Rebel cameras. Each cadet that is training in the GATE program, and as you can see, what we're doing now with GATE and HEART is we're leveraging in a specific way on what exists in each of these projects, because there's some components that overlap that make both of them together very strong. So we've just brought in approximately $400,000 worth of equipment. You see some of the Macs in room number 2, in room number 5 as well, because we will commission a new digital laboratory that is all Mac-based, and that will focus very heavily on audiovisual productions, graphic design, and digital graphic productions. We signed the MOU with Professor Morrison earlier, and the intention is to proceed to act on the Memorandum of Understanding, especially in collaborative research projects and technology initiatives. The report card on this is that the MOU has been signed, and the University of Technology is really waiting on us. This says by May we should be going to Kingston. I believe that will occur sometime in either June or July. And this would be the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Telecommunications, and the Antigua State College. We want to ensure that what we're doing here at GATE and under the HEART project can get regional uptake so that the cadets maybe can qualify for credits. And it's very early days, but we're looking for collaborations with established universities. We will train 250 cadets in photography. We have the tools. This is 250 cadets over a 12-month period. And we will also offer advertising and photography training for enthusiasts. The fact is we've done some of this already. Many of the cadets that just left here have weekend assignments, so they have the camera with them. Beginning in August 2014, under the HEART projects, there are 250 internships in ICT industries. These are summer job experience that target 3rd and 4th formers. There's no pay. What happens is they will experience mentorship-centric experiences with the private companies as well as in the services that government offers. We have a data center, our E911 center, the CCTV center, etc. We did the Girls Revolution business course here. We're focusing on young women, especially those in 4th and 5th form, because we want to encourage them to think business and not just about a career. And there's a potential for them to learn how to transform their interests into business opportunities. This is the photograph of the first group. So the report card on this first workshop completed. There are at least 4 more in 2014. I want to speak for 30 seconds about technopreneurship. Let's go show the next slide, please. Because there are lots of people who have great ideas, and these startup business workshops are for aspiring entrepreneurs. We are forging some greater collaboration with the investment authorities so that what they're doing and what we're doing here can potentially dovetail, especially for those entrepreneurs that are focusing on the ICT sector. Even businesses that currently exist and want to retool, we've focused on them. We have 3-4 more of these workshops before the end of the year. And because we have all of this equipment, we can actually now boost Connect Antigua Biz.ag. That is the portal that small businesses are getting onto, and we expose their businesses online on Facebook and on YouTube. We already had one mobile app workshop. It was very successful, hosted by Belville Wooding and his team. We have $0.5 million on the heart allocated to mobile app development. 4 more workshops are planned. We have a 3D printer being donated to the GATE facility by Belville Wooding and his team. This is a major new area. There are a couple of Antiguans who have studied this at university. We're going to hire one of them very shortly. This is an area that potentially we could excel at. And I say potentially because we need to go through a pilot phase, and the pilot phase will start in September of 2014. Everything focusing on 3D printing. We also will begin deploying new computers and printers in police stations and fire stations. We're working on internet access in all of them. Some of them have had this, but it needs to be modernized. We will modernize the entire Ministry of Agriculture as well as the outlying stations. The majority of this modernization is nearing completion, and many of the fisheries stage, the fishing complexes already have high-speed internet and so on. And we will also provide a boost to the digital media unit at the Ministry of Tourism. This weekend, video conferencing systems are being installed at the Mount St. John's Medical Center conference room, as well as at the Ministries of Finance and Tourism. And shortly thereafter, we will install video conferencing equipment in the Ministries of Education, National Security, Health, Agriculture, Legal Affairs, and Public Works. And you know what I wanted to also mention was that this HART project has been on the discussion with Lime for over 24 months, so we didn't just happen to get here like all of a sudden. We have deployed new hardware at Mount St. John's. Many of the young doctors, especially the interns, have already received iPads. Several of the senior sisters and sisters that are in charge of the wards, they were allocated iPads. And we are moving to see if Mount St. John's can become even more central in the Caribbean as a teaching hospital, and we're leveraging on wireless technology there. Early childhood centers, approximately 80 to 100 early childhood centers about a month ago were allocated an iPad under the HART project. Show me the whole slide, please. We also have allocated to teachers 1,600 laptops, but on the HART, 50 were allocated last week, so that's the report card on that. A total of 250 would receive on the HART. 50 came in already and received. An additional 50 to 100 computers should arrive within 6 weeks' time. Now, when we did this project initially with Lime, meaning the 2020 project, there were several people who were either in teacher training and now have joined the program, and they didn't qualify, so we have subsumed it under this. This coming Monday, age-appropriate educational tools and toys for every early childhood center will be allocated in this room. We are preparing, as we speak, the staff. So 80 to 100 early childhood centers will benefit from this. This is part of government's thrust to modernize early childhood education. And I want to point out that all of this was discussed with Lime 18 to 24 months ago, meaning all of these components. And I want to acknowledge Ashton, who's here with me today. He was with us every step of the way, from day one right down to the very end. And we're nearly the end of this presentation. We have allocated in excess of 600 iPads in the last 2 to 3 weeks. This is this segment where public sector workers qualify. These are iPad Airs. They talk to Lime's 4G HSPA Plus network. And we are planning to get in round 2 to the Antigua and Barbuda Training Institute, the Hospitality Institute, the International Institute of Technology, and the Institute of Continuing Education. This will happen in the coming months. So the update on these institutions is that is in part B of HART. And maybe what I should say is that Lime did not agree to the disbursement of the $9 million up front. There was a set amount they would disburse in the first 90 days of the project. And those 90 days were finished on the 25th of May. And then for the first year, which would be the remaining 9 months, there's a set amount of money that they would disburse. The remainder would be disbursed in year 2. And that is why some of these components are in different phases of implementation. We will also, and this is the last two slides, and focus on ICT-enabled early warning systems. This is something we've been talking to the World Bank about. The Caribbean region is vulnerable to both hurricanes and earthquakes, and we will also look at crowdsourcing. And I have opted to leave these till the very end of the project because we have already been approved for a $10 million loan from the World Bank, specifically in the ICT sector. The loan was available for signature several months ago, but I have, in discussions with the Prime Minister and we have opted to wait for the results of the elections because we didn't think it would be fit to sign on to such a loan in an area just next to an election. And the World Bank team understood exactly what we're saying, and we're hoping that, post the general elections, that loan will be available. So that is the update on HART, where we promised to do some work and where we have reached. Lime has done an extraordinary job working with us here, and their commitment to the deployment of 2 4G networks as well as $9 million to the HART project is a very clear signal that they have confidence in the economy, and this is a marketplace that they think they can make profit out of after such a substantial investment. So I invite a few questions, and I appreciate your patience here on a Friday afternoon. Yes? I have ABS here and Observer and New Media. Yes? Let me just say this. We spent the last 9 years doing some very important things in the ICT sector. One was retooling the public sector, retooling the education system, providing hardware, and ensuring that high-speed internet would be readily available. You would agree with me that if you had a phone and you didn't have, a good connection, you probably, whether it was a simple Nokia phone for $50 or a fancy Samsung Galaxy S5, if you didn't have a good signal, you really can't function. So what we have done is to ensure 3 very important things have happened. One, internet penetration would have been steadily increasing in businesses, in homes, in the education system, and in government. Secondly, the cost of devices and the availability of devices would improve. That is to say, we would have decreased or removed the barriers that existed that prevented people from getting access to the device, whether it was the phone or a laptop or a notebook or a tablet. As you can appreciate, that doesn't take place overnight. Thirdly, there was much emphasis on recognizing the rapidity with which technology was changing. Technology was changing very fast. And the speed at which technology has been changing has been fastest or speediest in the last 5 years. You look at the Samsung Galaxy tablets or the Samsung S4s. Almost every 3 months there is a new device. And you will see how fast the iPads have come out. There was the iPad 1, then 2, then the iPad Air is what we're giving to the public servants because that is the newest and it has the cutting-edge A7 chip in it. So while all of that was taking place, you would appreciate that somebody who would have been, let's say, 7 years old, 10 years later would have been 17, perhaps either at State College. So he or she would have been impacted in a very definitive way by technology, whether that person wanted to be impacted or not. So while we spent those 10 years looking at that, we have also been studying the new economy. What do I mean by that? You see it here in the GATE ICT Cadet Training Facility. You see it with the HEART project, how we're trying to go after every sector and ensure that technology can impact on their lives. So, fourthly then, we have focused on entrepreneurship and job creation and innovation and sustainability. And on the innovation side, I will answer your question very specifically now. And I want Mr. Ferron to show me the last 2 slides, please. We have had discussions with a leading space agency outfit. These discussions have been held at diplomatic levels, and there has been interest in using Antigua to develop a space laboratory. These discussions are embryonic but progressing. What this agency has said to me in our discussions through the diplomatic channels is Antigua is positioned geographically, ideally, for some kind of space laboratory. Secondly, they see Antigua as a cutting-edge destination where the workforce has a lot of cutting-edge ICT skills. Thirdly, there was interest on the part of government to proceed to more detailed discussions. And fourthly, we see it as an area for new job opportunities. So, when we say we're going to transition from the ICT realm to the space realm, we are practical. This is not a pie in the sky promise. It is a signal on the part of the government, on the part of the UPP administration, that we want to move Antigua to the next step, to the next level. And all of the steps we have taken in the last decade in this sector should signal clearly that we would use the ensuing 5 years to proceed now to a newer and higher level. Am I certain that we will be successful in this area? Well, success is determined by a number of factors. Time is one of them. It took us, and Mr. Ferron is here, it took us months and months of negotiation with Lime. Even at the last moment, we were not certain whether this would get approval by Lime's parent board. And so we moved along and we were able to get an agreement signed. And we must now leverage on technology for 4 very important areas. One is ergonomizing people's lives, making sure government services can be delivered to the citizenry more professionally and in keeping with the modern times. Let me give you an example, and I've spoken about this before. The area of public transportation. We have been in discussions with Lime about ergonomizing and putting GPS locators on some buses in a pilot phase so that in essence the net result will be someone who is using the public transportation system, and there are thousands of people in this country that use the buses, to be able to determine when is the next bus going to arrive at a particular bus stop to take them to their intended destination. And secondarily, we were speaking about smartphones being able to pay for you to be able to prepay for the journey. But that sounds very difficult, but frankly speaking, it's been used in other countries. So the move towards space technology revolves around a firm resolve on the part of the government to proceed to negotiations in a very detailed way on the potential for Antigua to be involved in space laboratory work. And I'm not at liberty to tell you which agency it is because it's only at diplomatic levels. I can confirm that I have had 3 to 4 discussions with the outfit, and they are examining a number of other related issues germane to that. Please proceed.
On the topic of radio licensing, and I think it was just that general field, it seems like it takes quite a while for radio licensing to process in a budget. Is there a reason for that?
You mean a radio station license?
Yes.
The rate limiting step has always been spectrum, let me tell you. Yesterday, I received a very detailed brief from the telecommunications, Daryl Jackson, telecommunications consultant. There's an issue of spectrum interference from Guadeloupe to Antigua and from Antigua to Guadeloupe. And this has been a problem, and it seems to wax and wane. So the first rate limiting step is the issue of spectrum availability. And I do not agree with you that it takes very long. Once we don't issue radio station licenses any longer to individuals, the application is processed based on to a locally registered company. You have to register a company, and the turnaround time, it usually depends on the spectrum. We are not able to process all of the applications that we've received because there just isn't enough spectrum. And usually we want to be clear there are no interference issues with the neighboring islands. From time to time, we've had issues with interference with the airport, the aircraft communication systems, interference from St. Kitts, etc., etc. And we have actually had interference here from people who are not authorized to use the spectrum, including some of those big yachts that come in. They have had some spectrum interference issues. But I don't agree with you that it's a lengthy procedure. We have actually awarded in the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe 10 or 12 licenses. Caribbean Superstation, formerly GEM, Smash Broadcasting, St. John's Christian Assembly Ministries, the Anglican Church, Julian Rogers' outfit was awarded a license, and I'm speaking off the top of my head. So we have been very liberal. And unlike the previous government, which totally monopolized the media, and I've said this before, it took the Observer Group to go all the way to the Privy Council to be able to give people a voice. This government has awarded and approved several broadcast licenses, ISP licenses. There's no more democratic country than Antigua. People can go on Facebook and say the world of good about you, me, anybody in public life, your pastor. You take it from there. So this is a free and open and plural society. And I'm very pleased to be part of a government where we believe the voice of the citizenry, the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Related to that, is there like a regulatory body for broadcast companies in Antigua? Like, say there's a company, like, is there anybody that regulates what's being broadcasted, the time frames, just something to kind of a system of checks and balances here on our radio stations, on our TV networks, that sort of thing.
Most other countries have a broadcast commission. In Jamaica, there's a broadcast commission. There has been talk about Pan-OECS broadcast commission, but it has remained only at that level. I don't think that, that has matured sufficiently. I remember that the OECS Secretariat had circulated a proposed broadcasting bill a few years ago. That did not go very far. A lot of the media fraternity certainly in Antigua, downcried it even before they were able to see it. I cannot tell you that there has been any new movement. When I was in charge of broadcasting, my position was, and the government's official position was, we would consider the bill if at least one other OECS country was able to pass the bill, and we would see what the response was. We didn't want to be the forerunner on that.
There's no local body for that at this point?
The Ministry of Telecommunications keeps an eye out, as it were, but we don't do that from a perspective of people who are concerned about copyright issues or people who are being libeled or slandered. Those are legal issues. And to answer your question, if there is a single outfit in Antigua that monitors what radio stations are broadcasting on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-a-year basis? The answer is no. That would properly be the remit of a broadcast commission. I would say that in a country like Antigua, it would be useful if the government would avail itself of professional advice in this area, and we would obviously consider doing a brief on it, like a white paper, getting somebody who is very knowledgeable. We have had discussions, with people from the Jamaica Broadcast Commission, but not in the context of Antigua proceeding with a broadcast commission.
One final question on that. There was an expert on this sort of thing, his name is Rob Bauman.
When you say this sort of thing, can you be specific? When you say this sort of thing, what do you mean?
I can't remember his exact title, but basically on copyright infringement when it comes to broadcast and media type thing. Right? And he was suggesting that as part of the process to get to the radio license, that corporations, stations, organizations, whatever, they commit to broadcasting at least 30% of what they broadcast must be locally produced, as local music, local programming. What would your comment be on such a music or something that the Antigua public could benefit from?
In 2005, January, when I was appointed Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for information, broadcasting, telecom, science, and technology, and working then with the management corps at ABS TV and radio, we had promulgated a minimum of 30% of the broadcast day, both on television and radio, to be dedicated to Antiguan and Caribbean content programming. As a result of that, we acquired the outside broadcast vehicle, which operates as a studio, which, by the way, is a move that I had made because, in fairness to ABS, they would have to get outside of the studio to be able to create that content. So that's something that was implemented, and by and large, there's significant local content programming on ABS television and on ABS, and most of the programming on the local radio stations seems to be Antiguan or Caribbean centric. So we are well on our way to that. The issue in my mind that arises is how do we contribute to content online? And this is where our new media facility here is an absolute Caribbean shining example. So we are no longer net consumers of content on the internet. So the work of the cadets, what we do here in the production studios, look at what we do during Carnival. We set up a makeshift studio at Carnival City to stream live. So the issue of Caribbean content revolves around Antigua's plan, and this is something I did not get a chance to speak about Antigua being the Caribbean content creation capital. No government outfit creates more content that has local, regional, and international relevance than we do here in Antigua. And it is against that ethos why we have gone into the area of new media and training cadets. Many of them are creating work that is very valid online. If you go to the government's website, on our Facebook and our YouTube, we put content there every day. And so we no longer are net consumers. And I think I've answered your question. Is there any other questions?
There is one more question. This is in regards to the student tablet. I'm not sure if
The student tablets. This is under the GATE project, yes?
Yes. I'm not sure if you're aware, but in the past several months, there's been cases of taking away tablets to make pornographic videos.
I have never heard that. We have never had any reports to the ministry along those lines. We have monitored that matter. We monitor the enforcement of the acceptable usage guidelines. I have no evidence before me of that. I have never heard of that. And until I see evidence officially from the Ministry of Education, I cannot speak to that issue. By and large, 99% of that project has been successful. We have been an absolute champion And I want to say to you that every parent and every caregiver who signed on to the agreement understands clearly what the rules of engagement are. They would have been properly advised. They would have received the booklet prior to signing on. And there are certain guidelines that every student must adhere to. And I speak to very little correction because I'm properly briefed by the team here. We have put in the AirWatch server, and I am not aware, and NetSweeper, I'm not aware of any infringements on those levels. However, there's always ways to short circuit the system, as you know. We have deployed thousands of tablets. Many of the students use them for the purposes for which they were intended. That is to help in their scholastic development. And what I can say is that it is for that reason the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines sent a delegation here recently. The government of Grenada sent a delegation here last year. The government of Papua New Guinea sent a delegation. And very shortly, we will welcome a delegation led by Dr. Jimmy Fletcher from St. Lucia. So what we have been able to proceed with on the gate and on the heart, under the Connect Antigua Barbuda initiative, is part of the overall ICT agenda, our digital agenda. Okay, my dear? All right, well, thank you very much, folks. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for coming.